Do you think you're going to pivot into like doing meme coins anytime soon?
We started a new company called T54. It is build up the trust layer for agentic economy. We are a huge company. We are kind of risk adverse. Why don't we invest something from the day zero?
I think everybody has a point where they make enough money and they're like, what's the point of making money?
90% of the successful startup are eventually doing something that was not the original idea they planned to do.
I think for me, the answer is 50 or 100 million.
Ripple is, I don't know, $50 billion valuation or maybe larger or smaller than that, but it's a huge company.
I tell my ChatGPT, buy me a cheeseburger. It'll buy the cheeseburger for me.
Some of the people gonna be a person who are making billions of dollars and doing maybe some bullshit business.
All it really means is you just sent them money. Here's $1 million. Chandler, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Ivan.
Thank you for making the time to speak with me. Can you tell me, I know you do a lot. Can you tell me in short what you do?
You mean what I'm currently doing right now?
No, I mean, I know you're currently sitting with me talking,
Okay.
But I mean, what your business is, what you're about.
Gotcha. So my career actually started from JP Morgan. I was originally doing quant research, risk management, stock tradings. There is a trading floor working for all the investment banks, doing all the stock derivative type of trading stuff. And then a couple of years later, I joined the JP Morgan AI payment teams called Onyx, Onyx, which is a team dedicated their time focusing on utilizing the innovative technology. Back then it was blockchain, machine learning, reinforcement learning. It's actually before the transformer, right? It was it's 2019. Try to figure out how can we build up some innovative product within payment use case. After that, I joined Ripple, spent a couple of years there, doing a lot of cross-border payment products, especially leveraging blockchain and stablecoin. And then early 2025, we started a new company called T54. It is build up the trust layer for agentic economy. We can definitely spend more time to talk about what is trust, what is agentic, but that's how I end up being here.
Awesome. Who are you currently partnered with building these kind of agentic layers?
So we have very solid investors, like including Ripple, Franklin Templeton, and a few other VCs. So we did work very, very closely with Ripple starting from day one. And now we have been offering all sort of AI solutions within XRPL infrastructure. But other than that, we're also working with a few other bigger financial institutions. Some of them, the news will be dropped maybe in 1 or 2 weeks. A lot of people are going to see that, which is a huge US financial institution. But other than that, we also work with a lot of smaller merchants who usually have some risk concern when they're dealing with AI financial activities, especially primarily on X402 ecosystem, which is a very agent native payment protocol.
That's awesome. It's very, very unique business model for sure. How did you connect with Ripple and your original backers? I mean, what's the process of getting investments for a company like that?
Well, to be honest, Ripple is, I don't know, $50 billion valuation or maybe larger or smaller than that, but it's a huge company, right? Mm-hmm. On the other side, T54, we start from day zero. It was pretty much nothing. So high level is not an easy or a simple task to get money from a huge organization as a seed round investor. Same applied to Franklin Templeton as well. But luckily, number one is I worked for Ripple for such a long time. There is kind of a mutual trust. Even before I left Ripple, I talked to Ripple's leaderships and mentioning about like, look, we are all based in Silicon Valley, right? That was back to 2024. It's already seeing the GPT start to, blow up and everybody start using AI agent for their daily life. And it is so obvious that, we need some financial infrastructure where we need to allow agent to get involved in touching money so that they are able to do more valuable tasks for us, right? We cannot just simply say, hey, help me to analyze which hotel is the best. Instead, you can just physically book the hotel for me. So with that said, blockchain and stablecoin, especially back to 2024, it was super native to AI agents because by then fiat rail was not there yet. And if you allow AI agent to touch money, stablecoin is a very, very friendly way right? Or very AI native way. This is a long story, but going back to Ripple, right? They see, okay, this is definitely a value and AI is booming. Right? Instead of try to incubate or try to build something internally, actually investing in a company that is fast moving and able to take risk and being very innovative, stay at the forefront of all the innovation, I think seems to be a reasonable decisions. I think that's high level, the consensus. A lot of larger financial institutions putting money into our venture is about, look, we are a huge company. We are kind of risk adverse. We want to make sure that our agent solution are being protected. We understand the financial risk associated with that. And given there's limited options on the market, why don't we invest something from day zero?
Yeah, there's not many companies doing that. So you're basically, to make it simple, let's say I want AI I tell my ChatGPT, buy me a cheeseburger. Mm-hmm. It'll buy the cheeseburger for me. It'll provide that like middleman between the financial institution and ChatGPT to buy me a cheeseburger.
Well, I can definitely clarify. This is a good example, Starbase, right? We are at T54, we are not an agent company. So we are not offering the agent to buy cheeseburger for you. And in most of the cases, we are not payment company as well. When the money flow between different parties, maybe it was done by Visa, maybe it was done by Ripple, or maybe it's done by other blockchain rails. Our value proposition is, Ivan, you start by asking your GPT, say, hey, help me to buy a cheeseburger. Mm-hmm. The first thing is the GPT or the agent will take your instruction, which is a prompt or it's an intent, and translate that into actions. What am I supposed to do? Right? Evan asked me to do something about buy a cheeseburger. Where should I buy the cheeseburger? What kind of cheeseburger? How much I need to spend on this cheeseburger? The reason why those decisions are so critical is if you made the wrong decision, it will lead to loss or risk, right? You go for, I don't know, Cheesecake Factory to buy a cheeseburger, which it doesn't exist, right? But the agent thought that that's the right merchant to start with. And on the other side, if you think about your merchants, let's say you are Cheeseburger Factory, right? Someday, besides getting a phone call, say, hey, I want to buy something, I want to order Uber Eats, there is an agent reaching out to you, say, hey, I'm giving you $10 and I want a cheeseburger. Maybe from merchant perspective, their first reaction is, who are you? Who you are representing for? Because you said you are representing for Ivan, but how can you verify that? You have to prove me. Otherwise, you may, which is you are the final decision maker / the owner, may file dispute. Say, I don't know what's going on there, but someone took my money and ordered something I don't need. I want my money back. All those things are losses. But if I take a step back, you're quickly going to realize, because our entire financial ecosystem was primarily human-centric. It's primarily based on human make the decision, human deliver the services, human do the contact, without thinking about there is a smart entity called AI agents getting involved in our daily life. And in order to make all the entire experience smooth, especially unhappy past, something goes wrong, still works well, it actually requires a lot of solutions. And we are literally building up the infrastructure and offering all sort of services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. When you came into, your professional career prior to this business as a quant trader at JP Morgan, I had to put my phone on mute. As a day trader myself, I see there are a lot of day traders that are trading not quant, but based on like Elliott waves and Wyckoff and all that. Is that a legitimate way of trading as someone that traded quant with an institution?
Well, okay. It's I think first of all,
I trade quantitative. I trade quant too. So that's why I'm curious, like your opinion as a experienced quant.
Yeah. First of all, if you study economy 101, maybe the first lessons you're going to learn is, hey, let's make assumption that every single human or all the participants in our economy are rational, plus the market are efficient / reaching equilibrium, right? This is the fundamental assumption for all the economics theory. However, the big but is it doesn't exist, right? In our real life, the market is inefficient. So the reason I said that is if you talk about all the scientific approach, whatever through quantitative trading, we do a lot of programming, we do a lot of mathematics modeling process, we do risk management as well, versus, sometimes the people talk about the day trader, talk about using some of the information, sometimes play the sentiment. I think it's all different approach to how to say, earn the money or try to make the profit in different ways. Because at the end of the day, the entire market is a big mist. It's chaos. There are a lot of opportunity. Think about this is a huge ocean, right? You can say, I'm just do fishing in the ocean, or I can use a net. There's different ways to do the fishing stuff. But eventually you can, based on your own ROI, the time you spent, you can try to harvest some of the fish. I think that's the goal you're trying to achieve. That's my honest opinion, which is I don't think there is a better or the best options to do trading. It's more depends on how much resources you are able to spend, what's your risk appetite, and then given the guardrail, okay, this is the best strategies I'm preparing for myself.
So basically, if everyone uses the same strategy,
it will be homogeneous. Yeah, it will be a strong correlation. True.
Yeah. No, that's obvious. That's obvious. And so I know this is kind of off topic, but when someone is selling a course on how to trade then, and they're selling like these Elliott Wave ICT type strategies, I'm curious because you're a quant trader. Is there legitimacy in that? Like, buy my course and you'll learn how to day trade?
Well, I cannot say it's legitimate or not. But there is a trading strategy called momentum, where most of the people strongly believe like NVIDIA is a very successful company. There's a strong consensus. Then there are a lot of buying power. Technically speaking, there is a strategy about, look, I need to stick to the momentum. Everybody loves this company and I need to buy more. And it usually will lead to more outcomes, right? And if you think about all the selling classes, right, they give you some high-level guardrail, and then maybe they are boosting or building up a momentum. However, there's other ways. Think about sentiment. Some people are basically trying to work against the sentiment in the market because people holding assumption that the stock price is going up and down, but around the value of the companies, right? Sometimes if the stock was overpriced, it will revert and convert back to the value of this company. So people are betting about, look, this is overreaction. Too many people like NVIDIA, and it will go back to their real value. So that's another way to think about it. So in my view, it is always an art than science try to figure out like what is the best strategy for you. However, if you stick to your strategy, you have to be very, very diligent, and you have to very stick to the rule. Talk about here, this is my principle. That's my stop loss line. If something goes wrong, I need to drop all my positions. So this is the principle you need to stick to after you figure out what is the best strategy you want to play with.
Yeah, that makes sense. And quant traders, they make pretty good money. How did you decide to go from being a quant trader at, JP Morgan? That's a huge company. What made you decide to make such a big shift?
Very good question. Well, I would say quant trading is very, very interesting. It's very, very competitive as well. You may imagine you are sitting beside all the IMO gold medal winners and some of the PhD from Princeton, Stanford in physics, in math. Everybody is super smart. At the same time, it's very competitive in a way of you need to build up the top strategy. You need to keep performing. You have to control your losses, basically your Sharpe ratio in general. And it's very interesting, I would say. But on the other side, there's another side of the world, like people are building up some real life products. Think about if you work for a technology company, you build a mobile app that a lot of people use that. That's another way to make your impact and improve your value. I don't think there is a right or wrong, but from my perspective, after spending a few years on the trading floor, it's just like, okay, probably I should do something different because I appreciate more about real life experience, especially about how to make people, the real life people feeling better, not only by focusing on the P&L or how much money you're making over days. So with that said, I was talking about the internal team within JP Morgan. Look, what kind of innovations, what kind of the things that we can do to make real life human beings have a better life. And payments actually, in case people don't know, JP Morgan run 1/3 of the payments volumes, maybe in US. They are huge in terms of domestic account management for all the top 500 companies as cross-border as well. So they have a huge payment product teams. And we spend quite a amount of time trying to figure out, given the huge volumes, given most of the top executive or top company are using JP Morgan's payment product, what's the actual value? What's the latest technology we can utilize? How we can improve the experience? So that's my second half of my career in JP Morgan. And I think that's a very good experience, paving the road for me to do a startup, which is eventually solving the same problem by making humans' financial experience better.
What you're basically saying is that you wanted to actually do something instead of like playing with money all day. Like you want to
trading is doing something as well.
No, but I mean, no, as a trader, I understand, but you wanted to make an impact on the world.
Yeah. Or think about your daily life, right? If you're a trader, you're talking with numbers. You're not talking to any humans to some degree. Even today, you're algo trading, right? You probably don't need a human at all. But on the other side, if you want to build a product, you have to build the best user experience. Who is your user? It's a human, right? It's not a number. It's not agents. So I think that's the difference when you work in different, between trading and product. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for some people, day trading, it's perfect because of that same thing. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can be inside all day. Yeah. But you enjoy running a company, working with people and building things like that.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think? I feel like the hardest part for people that see your story, as entrepreneurs, is they say, hey, I have an idea, but I can't get millions of dollars in funding, right? That's like a really hard barrier to entry. Would you say the reason why you were able to connect with XRP is because you were working with them prior and you sort of built like a long-term relationship? I guess, yeah, obviously that makes sense. But like, how does someone get into a position where they can build these long-term connections? I guess that's a better question.
Yeah. So T54, we are a trust company, right? We are solving the trust within agentic finance or agentic economy. But even take a step back, the entire society is a trust business, right? To some degree, you need to build up your own reputation and make sure that the people around you trust your expertise, trust your experience, trust your moral standards, or basically think that you are a reliable person overall. So with that said, if I look at my background, I didn't start by doing a company from day zero, fresh after school. Is because we need to build up our social reputation, try to build up our connections. And most important, you also need to build up your expertise because a lot of domain actually require years of experience. It's not about passion itself, right? So with that said, it actually require a little bit patience. When I work within JP Morgan, it was back to 2019. I didn't know any blockchain technologies before that. When I was a trader, I heard about Ethereum, but nothing too much about trading or using blockchain. And 2019 is the moment that I started involving in more blockchain technology. I learned that actually we can use blockchain to move money around very efficiently. And when that happened, if you look back, it was not a long time ago, but 7 years ago, nobody talked about stablecoin. Nobody has an idea about someday we're going to have this kind of digital currency, which is facilitating today maybe at least 1% of our trading volumes, maybe even more on that. However, you have to plant a seed and try to build up your conviction. They say, hey, look, this is the career I want to pick. And I'm willing to dive in by spending my time and careers into AI, payments, blockchain technology, because I'm envisioning this is something going to go big in the future, which is, if you look back, it is coming true around 2021, 2022. We have the DeFi summer. People start realizing, look, okay, stablecoin blockchain can get involved in our financial activities, right? And solving a lot of problems such as lending, staking, or making a payments. And then fast forward to 2023, 2024, especially after the SEC lawsuit being resolved by a lot of companies, and people realize, okay, actually, this is something pretty legitimate and is efficient. 2025, you see JP Morgan jump into the space, and RWA, a lot of initiative initiated by all the bigger financial institutions, BlackRock, etc., Franklin Templeton, and the markets become more institutionalized and more legitimate. But if you look back, you actually spend years, close to a decade, try to build up your reputation and expertise. And when that moment comes, you are in a perfect position to start with your own venture. So it actually requires patience.
Is there a way to do it without having to wait years and years?
Yes, you need to pick up different paths, not in finance. Finance is the most trustworthy business of the sectors. If you want to do a SaaS software, you can start from scratch almost immediately, right? And if you are offering a simple tool to make some cash, that totally work. But finance is a sector that requires patience, and there comes regulation, compliance, a lot of bells and whistles that need to be placed in place. Yeah.
That's it. You can't just like waltz into it and say, hey, my name is John, let me manage your money. You need to be in there for a long time.
Yeah. In case you don't know, if you want to take anyone's custodians, you have to have a multiple license, money transfer license, to move money around. You probably need sometime, in certain cases, financial advisory license. And there are certain type of data protections you need to follow. Again, the regulator introduced a lot of rules to protect the individual's interest, which is from another perspective. If you are like, maybe, I don't know, like a normal person and seeing Ivan start to sell you some of the financial products, right? If he blindly trusts you and get an issue, right? Who's protecting their interests, right? So I think that's the reason to introduce all sort of regulations to protect it. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, a lot of the regulation, from what I know, some of them they do an extensive background check. Other them, they just ask for your money. You pay them like 6 or 7 figures, and then they just give you the regulation. They give you the license, right?
For example, what's in your mind?
Well, I spoke to a guy that runs a big prop firm, and the regulation for these prop firms, essentially you just pay a company.
Rubber stamp. Okay.
Exactly. And is it like that for a lot of finance as well? I guess it's more strict, but some of these regulations, I mean, all it really means is you just sent them money. Here's $1 million, and they give you a regulation license.
Yeah, it's a very broad question. I don't have strong opinion on that. Maybe there are certain cases where I heard there is some. I'm not very familiar with that actually. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's all good. That's all good. What do you think is the hardest part about, building a company from scratch?
Usually have 3 principles, or there are 3 fundamental pillars before you start building up the company. Number 1, the most important one, is team. You need to have a strong team, no matter you are doing by yourself and you trust yourself, or you have co-founders and early members. Even with AI technologies, I still gonna think that most people need a co-founder / some founding members. We have a small group of super squad are capable of doing different type of things, and we put all the pieces together, all right, to create stronger value or bigger impact. So I always think that team is the number 1 thing. And other than that, I think there are 2 things are quite important once you have that. Not an idea. Idea is cheap, but instead you need to have a very, very strong execution, which is, to translate another way, is the path to grow your company. Because as a startup, you always have a limited amount of resources, whatever on the money wise or even on the timing wise. And you have to learn that what is the best way to climb up to the mountains, finding the shortest path, but a safe path to offer the value, whatever, to your customers or the people around you here. So it actually requires you to plan very, very carefully to build up a path. I think this is something people underlook, because a lot of people feel, okay, I have an idea, I have a strong vision, and I just stick to that, and one day I will get there. But a lot of time, think about the entire, economy is a big ocean, right? Sometimes you have storms, sometimes you have big wave. You have to survive. In this case, how to navigate a path to be part of the party of survival is very, very critical. I think that's number 2. Number 3 is tied to that, is you have to think about your moat, or your veg, basically. And, Ivan, you talk about an idea. I listen to your idea, and then I can just copy something immediately with AI's help. Then it's very hard to claim that there is something with moat. And the problem is, we are living in a world that most of people have a lot of, even with AI agent today, there's no, information gap, right? You can ask agent, they can tell me pretty much everything. And previously you can do Google search. But there's no point about, look, I know some secret sauce that there are 0 people in the world has other similar knowledge, and you're able to do something very, very unique. So you have to keep challenging yourself. Like, look, when you're doing this, what is your strongest competitive advantage? What is your moat? And how you can enhance that moat and be able to build up kind of like a flywheel on top of it. Mm-hmm. And these things apply in different stages. Early stage, you are thinking about, look, I'm a very strong founder. I can persuade investors. But if you get into later stage, you have to prove that you are making sufficient revenue, and how to prevent other competitors overpace you. Yeah, it's all sort of stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not really about the idea, but it's the execution that's really important, and having the people around you.
I read a research, I don't remember the number on top of my hand, but like 90% of the startup pivot, 90% of the successful startup are eventually doing something that was not the original idea they planned to do, because they all pivoting when they are building up their product. Yeah.
Do you think you're going to pivot into like doing meme coins anytime soon?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah, just making sure.
Yeah.
What are your long-term goals on the topic of pivoting? I know you don't plan on pivoting, but what are your long-term goals for T54? Sort of, where do you see the company being in, let's say 5 years or even 15 years?
Yeah, I can give you an example to answer your question here. Like 2 months ago, I walked into Chase. We opened a bank account in Chase branch, right? And we are putting a couple $1 million into Chase Bank because we got some money from investors, right? And there is a moment I'm just thinking, asking myself, why I never feel anxious or nervous or concerned when I'm deciding to put $2 million into Chase Bank account. Because I'm dealing with stablecoin, sometime, blockchain as well. When I try to put $2 million into a crypto wallet or maybe a cold wallet to some degree, I feel nervous. I need to double check, I need to triple check. Sometimes I make an investment to some of the, to some of the crypto asset. I probably going to think twice, right? I think fundamentally, Chase spent not decades, but centuries in the financial market to eventually build up a trustworthy brand. Mm-hmm. Right? We talk about D-Bank a lot. People say, SVB bank bankrupt, and then your money gonna be gone, and people are concerned about that because at the end of the day, yes, bank still is a centralized financial entity, and it has counterparty risk. There is a chance, not zero chance, it may go bankrupt. But still, compared with all the available solutions, people very naturally trust bank and trust Chase as the top tier banks over there. So with that said, if I'm asking T54, like within the agentic finance stage, today we are just very, very beginning. You can imagine 5 years down the road, maybe 30% of your daily transaction was automated by AI agents. You're driving a Tesla car and talking to your Tesla car, say, hey, you know what? I'm running out of toilet paper. In the next 3 days, help me to find a cheaper toilet paper and mail to my house. By the way, look for the cheaper deal, try to apply a coupon, and then you just leave it there. Or you may talk to your agent, say, this is my parents' birthday. Make sure that I buy a birthday gift every year under $200. That's the plan. So there are so many cases that you are delegating your agents, which implicitly you are trusting your agents to get involved in your daily financials, to touch your money, to move money around. Even if I'm pushing a boundary, to do trading on behalf of you. Certainly agree that you see a lot of AI traders, AI trading tools, right? Probably they can come up with better strategy than a human being. Are you willing to trust them? Would you feel the same situation as I did when I walked into a Chase bank by saying, look, $2 million in their bank account. It's not in my pocket, but I feel safe, right? So that's the vision we try to build towards by saying, look, in the agentic economy, right? There are a lot of things that probably you're not familiar with, but T54, we are a trustworthy brand by offering the services to Ripple, to Franklin Templeton, to Visa, to your Chase in your daily life, by protecting your interest and making sure that when agents are making mistake, you get covered. When agents are using your identity for illegal purposes, it get blocked. And for certain cases, if you're not aware how to utilize agents, we set up all the guardrail to protect it.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. When you talked about going to the bank and depositing $2 million to Chase, as an entrepreneur, did you have a moment when you were like, or even before you started an entrepreneur, when you first started working at JP Morgan, did you have a moment when you were like, holy shit, I'm rich? Did you have a moment like that?
In terms of getting paid, or?
I guess it's a sensitive question. A lot of people don't like it when I ask this question, so we can do it after. But I'm just curious, did you have a moment where you stopped thinking about money and more about, all right, what else is there to accomplish in my life now?
Yeah. I'm not sure if you saw the graduation ceremony in Harvard, and Johnny Chan, the stand-up comedy show person, made a speech there. And I just watched a small clip, right? He was talking about, look, you guys are all graduating from Harvard. You should not thinking about making money, because you guys are all going to make some money. And if you look around to your left and to your right, some of the people are going to be a person who are making billions of dollars and doing maybe some bullshit business, right? Potentially. And people are laughing. The point I'm trying to make here is, I know people are coming from different background, a different education level, or different type of social experience. But I do want to say there are certain small group of people who got lucky, and in certain cases, the privilege to work for, let's say, JP Morgan as a top financial institutions. And as a byproduct, they also make a decent amount of money. Instead of thinking about how much money you are making, you should think about, like, you are in a very unique position compared to, I'm not saying like, but people in Africa or people in Ukraine who are suffering the war, and you are in a very peaceful life and get a chance to build up your own value or making your own impact. So I think that's the best use of your time, right? Meanwhile, yes, I think making money is critical, but as long as you get to a level that your marginal utility by making more money is decreasing, and you should focus on what is your true meaning of your life. And in this case, to answer your question there, maybe when I just graduated, yes, I did have a moment. Well, actually, for my program starting in UC Berkeley, 90% of people are going to work for Wall Street. So we know that as a fact. After we get into the program, we're going to eventually making decent amount of money. But in the meantime, after working for a few years, you're going to quickly realize, look, making money is one thing, which is good. But on the other side, as a human being, only live once on this planet. What should I do? What I can contribute back to the society? Yeah.
The question is, like, because I think everybody has a point where they make enough money and they're like, what's the point of making money? Everyone has a different level. Some people, they need to make $100 million. Other people, they're okay with, 100K a year. What do you think should be a point in someone's life where they stop worrying about money and they start worrying about making an impact? How financially safe do you have to be?
My honest answer is I'm not in the position to teach anyone about what is the financial stability means for each individual, right? I think that's the answer coming from your heart. If you feel like this is something I'm not prioritizing for, maybe it's a time that you are looking for another goal. So,
yeah, I think for me, the answer is 50 or 100 million.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, maybe the number is way smaller, but a lot of people it's way bigger. But yeah.
But like $1 million now does not mean what $1 million meant 15 years ago. I think everyone's totally a millionaire at this point,
Yeah.
Do you plan on working with like the government and with other governments and their financial services?
So we actually have a legal and compliance advisor. She has a total year of 18 years of experience by working with SEC, working in SEC, FDIC, and FINRA as well. So basically for the services like us, which is offering the risk protections and to some degree processing clients' money and their data, we have to follow certain rules and regulations. So the answer to your question is yes. There are a lot of regulation implications associated with this entire service. And by offering that to the financial institution, they also require us to follow certain rules and guidance as well. But on the other side, I think it is kind of responsible when we process millions of millions records. For the record, we did process more than 20 million records, transactions through our system. And some of the information are sensitive. Some of the information are private data. So those information should be encrypted. And the access control associated with that data has been clearly documented and reviewed on a regular basis. All those things are being well taken care of. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess my only other question is for people that want to be in a position where they can start companies like you and be an entrepreneur, what is something that you learned along the process that you wish you knew earlier? Like, maybe learn people's birthday and they'll like you more, or like something that no one really tells you, but you learned along your process to become an entrepreneur that manages money, that is trusted in the industry.
Yeah. Again, I'm trying not to be in a position to teach people because I honestly think that everybody should live their own different life based on their own situation. But purely from my perspective, I'm observing I have a few observations right now, especially nowadays with AI in place. People shares a sense of anxiety when the technology are developing so fast. And yes, there are a lot of fortunes are being created with AI booming, right? Even from a trading perspective, you are a day trader, and you can buy a cheap companies, and the day after tomorrow, probably you're 30% increase in terms of profit. And people think about, oh, this is a huge opportunity. However, from my perspective, there are a lot of things actually require more patience, and people undermine the value of being patient and being committed to something that they are looking for. The fundamental reason of that is we have so many people are look around and focusing on the short-term goals. Think about you were running a marathon, right? So everybody is pretty much starting from the same start line. But then there are 90% of people are focusing on the short-term goal, basically 1 mile, 2 miles away, and they're running in a circle, right? And if you're still young, right, you feel that your peers are very similar to you, especially after you graduate, or basically say everybody got a job, graduate from the college, and I have little money, and my friends does as well. So at the same time, if you are being very committed, say, look, this is my passion, that's the direction I want to choose, I need to build that with more patience. Just like running a marathon, there is a goal or milestone that is 3 miles, 5 miles, 50 miles down the way, and you'll keep pushing that boundary. 5 years down the road, you will gradually see there is a divergence. 10 years down the road, you can clearly see a difference. And to some degree is you are owning some unique expertise that nobody does, or your peers doesn't have it, and you are in a relatively unique position. Mm-hmm. But to achieve that, sometimes you're facing with doubt. Sometimes you have negative signal. You're not making that amount of money compared with your peers. But again, you have to follow your heart by learning what exactly you're trying to achieve. And you need to build up that with a tremendous amount of patience. You know?
That makes sense. Thank you very much for taking the time, Chandler. I look forward to seeing how T54 continues to grow. And everybody that wants to follow Chandler on LinkedIn and Twitter and wherever else he's on, check the description below. And I will see you in the next episode. Make sure to like and subscribe.
All right. Thank you for the time.